If you're applying to PhD programs this year, you probably heard that you need a publication to get admitted. Is that true or not? Today, we'll explore if having a publication is a non negotiable when applying to PhD programs. And as you'll see, things are not as clear cut as it might seem. So stay tuned. I'll be dispelling some myths related to PhD admissions and sharing a few secrets along the way. Let's go. Hi, I'm Philippe Barr. I'm a graduate school admissions consultant and a former professor, and I help people get admitted into their dream grad programs. So, do you need a publication or not? This is a big question. The truth is, the PhD application process is complicated to say the least. Admissions committees look at your application as a puzzle, and they look at every piece of the puzzle to make their decision. So they'll explore your research experience, your letters of recommendation, your statement of purpose. They'll consider the interview if there is one, your GPA, etc., etc. But the big question is, do you need the specific publication piece of the puzzle to get admitted? Well, before I answer this question, let's investigate why people tend to think that you need publication to get admitted into PhD programs. If you're interested in applying to PhD programs, you probably know that the main rule in academia is publish or perish. And the reality is publications are pretty much what drives the research world. This is how you build a reputation. This is how you get grants. This is how you get funding. This is how you get tenure. And this is how you share information with other people. So it is true that publications are extremely important in the world of research. But the big question is, does this rule of publish and perish apply to you as a PhD applicant? Well, one thing is for sure, publications are definitely valued in academia because they are a clear and tangible demonstration that you have gone through the full research cycle. This means that you designed the project, you collected the data, you analyzed it, and you came to a series of conclusions. And this evidence of your ability to conduct research is highly valued by professors because if you have a publication and you demonstrate your ability to go through the entire cycle of research, probably you'll be able to do this while you are in the program. And a big concern for admissions committees who are running PhD programs is your ability to finish your degree. I know it sounds like a bit of a truism here, but it is quite difficult to complete a PhD and it can be overwhelming. There's a lot of obstacles along the way. And we see a lot of students struggling with completing their dissertation, getting their exams done. There's a lot of analysis paralysis that takes place. And unfortunately, a lot of students either don't finish their program or end up staying in the program for 20 years. So they definitely don't want that to happen, obviously, because taking on a PhD student in a program is very costly. So this is why publications are highly valuable for admissions committees because they provide a concrete and tangible evidence of your ability to follow through. So let's get into the nitty-gritty of what admissions committees are looking for when they look at applications. And it's a simple answer. They're looking for evidence of potential. Obviously, a publication will demonstrate that, but there's other ways for you to demonstrate your potential. For example, if you've completed an honors thesis or a master's thesis, this is clear evidence that you're able to follow through a project until the end and that you have been able to be committed to research. Another evidence of that would be any type of research that you have done in your work environment. So if you were designing projects in your line of work, you were collecting data, you were analyzing it and presenting it in front of people, you authored internal papers, for example, that were shared around the organization, that could be a clear evidence of your research potential. If you attended conferences or you spoke in public to share your experience, that's also a clear evidence of your potential. And finally, if you worked with somebody, you assisted in conducting research, either one-on-one or as part of a group or a lab, this is also clear evidence of your potential, and these elements are taken into consideration by admissions committees. So as you can see, there are other ways to provide concrete and tangible evidence of your ability to finish a project. Obviously, if you have completed this honors thesis or this master's thesis and the program requires a writing sample, they will use that as clear and tangible evidence. Your CV too can be acting as this evidence and proof. And this is why it's important to use the bullet points in a strategic way and to really outline your abilities and especially your ability to finish projects. Your letters of recommendation as well. A professor will really vouch for you and tell admissions committees that you're able to finish projects and complete them. And finally, the statement of purpose is probably the most important part of your application. And in this piece of your application, you can clearly provide this evidence by outlining your ideas clearly, being rigorous in talking about your research, and demonstrating what a great fit you are for their programs. So don't underestimate the power of the statement of purpose in demonstrating that you are the perfect match for a PhD program. Speaking of CV, if you are currently struggling with writing your CV, you don't know what it should include, you don't know what to write, you don't know in what order to present the information, I highly encourage you to download the guide that I've included in the description box of this video. You can download it and it will provide you with all the information you need to come up with the best CV. I also included a template that can be very helpful in coming up with the best CV for PhD admission possible. The good thing about this is that it's free, so take a look at it and feel free to download it. In addition to this, if you have questions about the statement of purpose, and you would like to see what a great statement of purpose that gets people admitted into PhD programs look like, feel free to look at the Grad Pathway Hub, which is a platform that I created where I share a lot of information about coming up with statements of purpose, how to outline your research interest, provide templates for letters of recommendation, templates of emails that you can send professors, etc., etc. So don't hesitate to take a look at it. It might be helpful in your PhD admissions journey. So now that we've seen that publications are definitely driving the world of research and that they can be very useful to admissions committees when they look at the applications, what is the reality? How many people apply to PhD programs with publications? Well, based on my experience working with PhD applicants for the last 15 years, and based on my experience as a professor sitting on a variety of admissions committees, the answer is that it's fairly uncommon at this stage of the journey for an applicant to have a publication. And this has to do with the fact that publishing takes time. It's a very time-consuming process. So there's the writing of your article, but there's also formatting it according to guidelines provided by reviews. There's the waiting time until getting reviews. You're often required to make revisions to your article and you need to resubmit it, etc., etc. And I'm not even talking about how long it takes for a paper to get published. It can take years. So it goes without saying that it is not fairly common for PhD applicants to have a publication at the time of the submission of their material for PhD programs. Based on my past experience as a PhD, I can tell you for sure that I got admitted to a wide variety of top programs at Ivy League schools with full funding without having a publication. And I was hired by UNC Chapel Hill as a tenure track assistant professor without a publication. So if you are worrying about your status as an author and a PhD applicant, do not worry. You do not need any of this to get admitted into your dream program. There are many other ways to impress admissions committee. Okay, so that being said, and this is where things get tricky, does having a publication help with PhD admissions? Unfortunately, my answer is going to be yes. If you have a publication, it's definitely a way for you to stand out from other applicants, especially if you are applying to a program that is highly competitive, where they receive a lot of applications. Having a publication can definitely help you get admitted over somebody who might have the same profile as you and who is also applying to the program. It can also be a great way to distinguish yourself if there is a part of your application that is a bit weaker than others. So you might have a lower GPA or a low GRE score if it's required. You might be young to apply to a PhD program or a little older. So any part of your application that might be a little weaker than others could definitely be offset if you have a publication. And finally, Having a publication can really help with funding. I've talked about it previously when I was talking about the rules that are at play in academia. It applies in the context of admissions. So let's say that you were applying to a program and you're competing with people who have the same profile. You might get more funding based on the fact that you have a publication. So although the publish or perish rule that runs academia does not specifically apply to you as an applicant, it can help to have a publication as part of your application. So, knowing that publications are not necessary to apply to PhD programs, but that it can help, you might be in the situation where your application is a little weak on certain aspects, or you're worried because you're applying to highly competitive programs. You might be wondering, should I go for a publication or not? In my opinion, it's all about timing. So if you are right now a few months before the deadline, or you're preparing your application, or you're actually working on your PhD application, if you think that going for a publication will take time away from coming up with the best application possible, I would say just move on, forget about it. It's not needed. It will impact your overall application, and that is what truly matters. If you are in the process and you are a few months before deadlines, it might be a year from now that you're thinking of applying to PhD programs, then it might be a good idea to seek a publication to boost your profile. And there are a few things that people don't know about the rules of academia that can be really helpful to you if you are in this situation and you just want to upgrade your application. So the first thing that you can take into consideration instead of a publication is considering attending a conference. In academia, it really looks good for you to present at conferences. It's a great way for you to demonstrate that you've gone through the complete research process. And between you and I, it's much less time consuming than coming up with an entire article for publication. If you are considering this route, you might want to look at grad student conferences. They're usually easier to get into than peer-reviewed, big-time conferences. It's a great way for you to have something to add to your CV. It's also a great way for you to start networking with aspiring academics. And in many cases, these graduate student conferences offer the opportunity for you to publish your presentation either in their journal or online. And that can be as important in the eyes of admissions committees as having a publication. Another important secret to consider is that at this stage of your journey, your publication is not as important as it would be if you were on the tenure track and you were going for tenure. So if you decide to publish on a blog or on Medium, for example, it could count as a publication. Again, the publish or perish rule applies there. And it would also demonstrate your ability to go through the research process and share your ideas with the community. That can look really good as well. A lot of people think that their publication should also be strictly aligned with their target field. So that doesn't have to be the case either. Even if you published research in another field, it would still count. I've talked earlier about internal white papers that usually circulate in certain organizations. If you are the author of this, this is something that you could list that could also demonstrate your skills and provide tangible evidence of your ability to share knowledge with others. So that's also something to consider. So there's not really a specific genre of articles that you can publish, as long as it has been published and that it is a piece of writing that you're not ashamed of. You can definitely list that as a publication. So you might want to consider publishing in one of these venues instead of hitting these really hard to get into peer-reviewed journals. Be careful though, if you have published something in high school in your high school journal, leave it there. It should be something that has been published between the time you graduated or during your undergraduate studies and right now. Also, keep in mind that having a publication does not automatically grant you access to the world of PhD studies. A lot of people apply with publications that do not get in. I have worked with many of them, and I've read applications from people who had publications and that did not get admitted. Sometimes your statement of purpose is sloppy. Sometimes really it's not a fit between your application and what faculty are researching in this specific program. So there are a wide variety of reasons why you would not get in with a publication. So if you are in the situation where you have one, don't sit on your laurels and really put a lot of emphasis on your application because it is not a guarantee. So now, what about the big reveal? Do you need a publication or not? Well, obviously the answer is no. You do not need a publication to get admitted into PhD programs. As I said, it can be helpful, but there are many other ways that you can impress admissions committees. So in my opinion, you should not stress too much about publications, especially if you're watching this video very close to deadlines. Focus on your application, especially on your statement of purpose. There's plenty of other ways for you to impress admissions committees and get admitted into your dream program. If you are in the process of working on your application right now, I highly encourage to take a look at these two videos here where I go in depth into what not to do in your statement of purpose. Your statement of purpose is extremely important. I work with a lot of people and most of them get rejected because they did not master what needs to be shared in your statement of purpose. So take a look at it to learn about mistakes to avoid. And also, if you want more tips and tricks on how to apply to PhD programs, I also have a series of secrets that I'm sharing with you as a former admissions committee member in the other video. So there you have it. No need to stress about publications. Just focus on straightening your application. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to press the like button or subscribe. I'll be posting more videos like this to help you go through the PhD admissions process. And thanks again for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.